So in this lesson, we're going to look at some E7 chord voicings up the neck on the top 3 strings and how we can use those to create some additional fingerstyle blues licks that work in the key of E. Now, in the previous lesson, I talked about just how to set up a basic groove for fingerstyle blues in E, and if you didn't see that one and you want to, you can go check that one out. It's the first lesson in this series. Now we're going to look at some chords. So we're in E, and we've got our steady bass on the low E string, and we're going to look at 4 chord shapes, or we're going to think in terms of 4 chord shapes. First is just the home position of the E chord, top 3 strings here, first fret, open, and open on the top 3 strings. Now the next position up from that looks like this, and if you picture like a D7 chord, and you slide it up 2 frets, it becomes an E7 chord. 4th fret, 3rd fret, 4th fret. Probably heard that a million times. Maybe you already played it. The next shape up is here, and if you can picture this open position B7 chord and picture these 3 notes on top going up like that. Now we've got the 7th fret, the 5th fret, and the 7th fret on the top 3 strings. And finally, here's the last chord shape, which is like this A7 shape, only way up here. And it's got the 7th fret, the 9th fret, the 9th fret, and the 10th fret. You could also add the root in on top. Either one of those works. This is just an A triad, this is an A7 chord. So we're going to find some licks that come out of these shapes. So first of all, one of the most common moves is to half step your way into this E7 shape here. So starting off 1 fret below the chord and then playing the chord. And if you had the bass going, you would play that over the first beat like this. So I'm playing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So you got a pinch on the downbeat, 3rd fret, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, and the thumb on the bass. And then after the bass, the fingers of the left hand come up 1 fret, and you pick them with your right hand. 1 and the rest of the measure is kind of for free. It's just the bass playing. So we can have a 1 measure idea like that, but then if we syncopate it a little, we can have this. First measure, open high string, and so what's happening there is I'm taking my pinky off the high string to get the open E string. So the full count is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So cool, now we have a whole 2 measure idea. Now you can also, besides playing that chord as a chord, you can turn it into more of a lick. There's a great book that came out in the 60s or the 70s. I think it's just called The Blues Guitar Style of Brownie McGee. It was written by Brownie McGee and Happy Traum. And Happy Traum told me this great story once about, when he was a kid in the 50s, he was taking guitar lessons from Brownie McGee, and he would go all the way from the Bronx, where he lived, down to wherever Brownie McGee lives. I can't remember. Maybe it was in Harlem, but I don't remember. But Happy would go with a guitar in one hand and a reel-to-reel recorder in the other. So all y'all who go to a guitar lesson and just take out your phone, just think about this for a minute. And so here he is going to a 4th floor walk-up, carrying like some big old Martin in a hard shell case, and then like a whole reel-to-reel recorder, just so he could record his lessons with Brownie McGee. And so out of that, I think, in part, came this book. And Brownie McGee in the book talks about something he calls breaking up the chords, which was his way of talking about kind of arpeggiating the chords, turning the chords into licks. So in this case, here's the chord, and if you were going to break it up, you might turn it into, you're taking the pinky off to get the open high string, and then you're turning it into more of a single note lick. So the timing of this is a little tricky, but the great thing about having the steady bass is that's kind of like how you can calibrate everything. Like the thumb's always on the downbeat. And so if you count that triplet count of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and as silly as it makes you feel to say 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and it's a great way to count things out. And the thumb's always going to be on the number, on the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then you just kind of plot the fingers over the thumb and figure out what's a pinch, which is any time you've got a finger note on the downbeat, and what's not, which is any time you have a finger note in between the downbeats. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So you can see where the pinches are. Not here, here, here. So the lick is going slide into the 4th fret, 3rd fret, open, and then really brushing back with your index finger. Index, so do an open first, open 3rd and 4th, and then back to the 3rd fret on the 2nd string, open high string. So that lick, and then when sped up, you could finger it ring, middle, index, or you could just do this kind of, it's called a backwards rake. Do it slowly to kind of work out the timing, and then you can bring it up to speed. But so there's an idea that you can have where you're taking a chord shape and turning it into a lick. Now you could also answer that single note lick with the chord lick we started off with. So first part. So that's a way of starting to mix and match and combine the stuff we're working on. Now if we go up to this chord shape, we've got another E7 chord, and we could take one of the rhythmic things we did with triplets in lesson 1, where we played this, and we could do that up here. So if you missed that, you can go check out the first lesson where I talk about that. But what we're doing is basically first thinking, okay, we're playing all the notes of the count. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we're leaving out the first downbeat with the fingers. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and you might also just only play the fingers right on the downbeat of the 4th beat, just to give yourself some time to get into another lick afterwards. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And you could brush up with your index finger on this too. And again, you want to, when you're holding down the 7th fret on the 3rd string with your ring finger, you want to let the tip of your ring finger touch the 4th string so that you can brush pretty hard and not get a whole lot of extra notes that you don't want. Now we could also end this one like that. So open high string, pinch, open high string. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So we can take this and then jump down into this chord shape. Or we could take this gotten there, we can add in an ending lick that we did in the first lesson. So chord lick, and then ending with this lick. lick. So all this fingerstyle blues stuff is very cumulative. Once you've got a move, you can usually find a way to include it somewhere else as the ending to some other lick or something like that. So that gives us some things here and some things here. And then we can go up to this chord voicing. Now here we've got both E7 and just an E triad. And we're going to slide in from a half step below, just like we did this. We're going to slide in here on the third and second string. We have a little bar. And we're going to pick the third and second string at the 8th fret, then go to the 9th fret, hit the high string, the 12th fret, back to the second string, and then 10th fret on the high string. So 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So the lick itself is, and over the bass it's. So you might start down here and then answer that here. So here's a measure, here's the second measure. So you can practice these one by one, just the individual moves, and then you can practice combining them just, two at a time, say, into a couple measures, like having this lick and then answering it. So you could even take every lick we've done and answer it with this, right? So you could have, and then you could have this one, and then you could have this one. And by the same token, you could also start, you could decide you're going to end everything with this one, right? So you could start here, or here. So you can find all different ways to kind of be really specific about, I'm going to do this one and then that one. Because yes, you want to be able to improvise with these things, but one of the strongest ways you can get to the place where you can improvise is to make sure you can do all the possibilities first. So take one lick and see if you can end it with every other lick we've done, or take one lick as your ending lick and start it with every lick you can think of. You can also just sort of make up a little 4 or 8 bar practice routine that's specific, that sounds musical to you. Like, for instance, you could start like this. And then fall into the groove. And then do the lick that breaks up the chord. And end it with this. And then go to here. So I'm just taking all the groove pieces from the first lesson and then adding in at least one of each of these new chord positions somewhere in there, so that I'm including all the new information with all the old information. So practice these however it makes sense to you. There's a couple suggestions for how to do it. In the next lesson, I will show you how to take some of these chord voicings and move them to A, so we can start to play through the beginnings of a 12-bar blues by going between the 1 chord and the 4 chord. In the meantime, if you've got questions or you want to make a comment, please leave it down below. I'd love to hear from you. If this stuff seems it's going too fast or it's going too slow, or you have questions about other things or other ways you might use it, please leave your thoughts down below. I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll see you next time.